So my studio is moderately clean. It has been freshly vacuumed, and I have talked about working on the floor many a time, working on my beautiful watercolor comics on the floor, like, I don't know, like someone without a desk, but oh look, there's my desk and my amazing chair, which is super good for sitting in, but not good for comics. Anyway, this is how I do my pages. I am currently working on 7-inch Kara, Chapter 7. Super excite. Chapter 3 hit the site at 7inchkara.com recently. So these are some very in-progress pages. You can see I'm working on 5 of them. I do like to work on a scene at a time. Unfortunately, page 1 for Chapter 7 is outside, and then everything else is in Naomi's kitchen. So I'm basically working on 2 scenes. But that is okay, and as you guys can see, they look very unfinished. But I'm going to check in with you guys again really soon and show you guys the beautiful finished pages. They're going to take me a little bit longer since I am working on 2 scenes, and I'm working on a lot of backgrounds because it's a comic. So that's Naomi's kitchen in progress. She's moving into the house her father grew up in. More kitchen, more background. Outside on the porch, more background. Oh, there's the open refrigerator, more background. Lots of background in my comic pages because I draw backgrounds. I want people to know where the comic takes place. And then there's my watch and my coffee cup, my sketchbook, because I still need to do my warm-up, my brushes, the 2 palettes that I typically use for Kara, and a daisy palette. And I use a daisy palette because, hey, I'm painting a whole lot of very similar things at any given time, so I need to mix up lots of color. I also have my drawing case and a fidget block of doom that was sent to me by my buddy Kabocha. And it's great because I have been super fidgety lately because SCBWI for the Mid-South, like the Nashville region. This is my desk. It's a mess. They're finally recognizing that, hey, kids read comics, surprise, and bringing in somebody from First Second. And I am super duper, like, excited, but also really anxious because it's like I gotta put up or shut up despite doing comics for kids for 5 years and having self-published a book and having done about 100 some odd cons. I still get super anxious and I still feel like I'm never good enough. There are my Copics and my other alcohol markers. All this is like a huge mess and I need to reorganize it, but I just don't really have a lot of space. There's some of my papers. There's some of my cute inspirational garbages. There's Link in a Cage. There's some additional storage. There is my precious son, Bo. He's asleep. Oh, wow. There's loads of papers. There's just like a very small collection of my con badges. There are some more of my con badges, and I have even more stashed away somewhere. But I really wanted to show you guys because you asked what working on the floor looks like. And this is an anti-fatigue mat, the sort you would have like at a store for someone who's standing all day. It helps me not wreck my booty bone because I just sit on the floor, Indian style or cross-legged, and paint all day long for 8 hours a day, almost every day, because I'm crazy. So, yes. That is what painting on the floor looks like. And I will check in with you guys again when there's more progress on these pages because it's World Watercolor Month and I totally think you should celebrate it with me, Becca Hilburn, who paints kid-lit beautiful watercolor pages, which you can check out at 7inchkara.com or 7inchkara.tumblr.com and read the first 3 chapters for freezies. And if you use an RSS feeder, make sure you add it to that so you can get your Friday fix. I update with at least 1 new comic page every Friday. And you know what? While I talk, I'll just zoom in so you guys can get a look. I know they look super duper unfinished. And I'm sorry, I keep making like gross sniffling noises. I came back from AX, and hopefully I didn't get the con cred. And let me show you what a finished page from Chapter 7 already looks like. Boop, boop. Wah! It's the cover of Chapter 7, which is very pink and very purple because we're in Naomi's world, and Naomi's color schemes are like saturated synthetics, and Kara's are like muted naturals and neutral tones. So that is why it is like, wha-bam, hot pink. But I can't wait until more of Chapter 7 is finished, and I hope you guys will look forward to it. So, bye! It's another painting day. I've got my paintings stacked up to dry. I left them like that overnight. I went and filled some half pans with watercolors that I think may be useful in this session. Colors that I don't already have in my palettes. And I went and cleaned and grabbed another little daisy palette. I told you guys I would check in with you with some progress so you guys can see Naomi's skin has been started. A little further than when I did the video yesterday. Although not as far as I would have liked. I found out some pretty nasty news yesterday, and so I need to go for a walk and clear my head. So I didn't spend as much time painting as perhaps I would have liked, but maybe I'll spend some more time today. So I'll check in with you guys again when I have more progress. Hey guys, another day, some more watercolor. You guys can see I have made some progress. Since I'm painting 5 pages at a time, progress is a little bit slower than it would be if I were working on a smaller batch. That is an obvious thing that sometimes you forget when you're in the middle of it. And this is the 3rd day on these pages. I'd really like to start pulling in some tighter detail in some areas, but that's going to require sort of analyzing my pages and determining their needs. Part of what's taking so long is I have new backgrounds. We're inside Naomi's house. It's actually based on the house my mom grew up in, so the color palette is intentionally super dated. It's like goldenrod, linoleum, and dark red brick and really dark wood. That kitchen felt so tiny when I was a kid, since my aunt lived in that house after my grandparents had moved out. So I actually got to spend quite a bit of my childhood there, and it felt super tiny. So I'm trying to convey this. The house that Naomi lives in is like a 1950s house that was designed by my grandfather, who dabbled at being an architect. And so there are certain areas of it that are like, wow, Papa, that was small. And that would be the kitchen. So there's Bowie, studio cat. Hey, bud. He's being good, not walking on my pages, giving me the old softy face. There are some of my additional pages. I put them back in the Canson pads when they're penciled but not in the middle of being painted. And I don't think I will intentionally work on a batch of 5 or 6 again this chapter, because this is just taking a lot longer than I wanted it to take. Usually if I work in batches of 2, 3, or 4, and those move fast, I would be almost finished with these pages by now. And then, of course, there's also pages that have, like, dense areas of details, like Naomi's fridge, for example. Or this page where we have the porch. I actually really like that page. Or this page with the kitchen overhead. It could be denser, but I thought I'd drive myself crazy. I also kind of want to imply that Naomi and her father, when they moved out of New Orleans, they didn't really take as much with them. So that is progress so far on day 3, and that is the studio cat. Alright guys, it is another morning for more painting. You guys can see my drying paintings here. This is, I've lost track, honestly. It's probably the 4th day, really. It's more like the 6th, because I started some of these things and then I got busy and I wasn't able to get back to them. And as you can see, when you're working on so many pieces at a time, progress seems slow because you have to kind of build everything up at the same time. But I keep reminding myself that when I'm finished with these 5 pages, I'll have 5 finished pages. So I will check in with you guys again soon You guys can see I have progressed to 2 palettes now, and the mess expands. That tends to happen when I'm working in batch on the floor. So I'll check in with you guys later when I've made more progress. Another day. I got a late start today because I've had a migraine since I woke up. So it's almost 5 now and I still have a migraine. And there is Bo wandering around. Yesterday I had hoped to put enough paint on the paper down that I could get these pages finished for today. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's raining outside and I still have that stinking migraine. When you're self-employed, you do not get sick days. Well, you don't get too many of them. I guess every day could be a sick day. So, I know, he really wants you guys to see him. As you guys can see, my workplace gets progressively slobby as I work on pages, and my gray cat gets progressively naggy. So, I will check in with you guys again tomorrow. Guys, so I hope today is my final day of painting. There are all my bulldog clips that were on those blue painter's tape. Here is my hot mess. As I told you guys, it gets progressively worse as I paint. And there are my watercolor pencils. So let's take a look at my progress. I hope today is spent just tightening things up, adding white highlights, adding final details. I kind of hoped to be at that point yesterday, but I had a really bad migraine all day, so I didn't actually get to that point. So, if you are interested in how I finish up my watercolors, there is a watercolor basics video here on the channel. I can link that for you guys, and you can find out there. But I'm going to check in with you guys once these pages are finished, and I'm ready to remove them from their gator board. Hey guys, so you see me in my full hoardy glory. I am doing some of the final touch-ups on these pages using white gouache here, and I cleaned out one of my wells to facilitate that. This isn't quite the end. I will check in with you guys one last time to show you what my finished pages look like, But if you've enjoyed these videos, if you enjoy watching these pages come together, I do hope you'll check out the webcomic version of this at 7inchkara.com. And I also hope, if you are not so much into, say, webcomics, that you'll check this out at natosoup.com/shop/Kara-comic, and you can find links to both in the description below. And it's a little difficult for me to talk and do gouache, so you'll have to forgive me if I don't narrate the entire time, but I did want to sort of explain what I'm doing, and this comes at the very, very end, when I've pretty much finished everything else. And I might also use watercolor pencils or Derwent Intense pencils at this stage. It really depends on what these pages need. I try not to use the watercolor pencils as much as possible because I've just been working on trying to allow my watercolors to sort of stand on their own. And I found that when I was using watercolor pencils a lot, my watercolor itself wasn't as strong, but they can be a wonderful tool to help you achieve the look you're going for. I just tried to work them out of my system, basically. So white gouache is mostly just for doing highlights, making minor corrections, maybe doing rim lighting. And for those of you who aren't familiar with gouache, gouache is an opaque watercolor, and I'm currently using Winsor & Newton gouache here. But in the past I was using some leftover Utrecht gouache that had started to go bad in the tube and had started to rust. So I've used Winsor & Newton gouache for a while, and I think it's pretty decent in quality. So if you're looking for a recommendation, that would be it. And this is why I don't normally record too many videos of me working on my comic pages, because this is how I work, and it's difficult for me to work like this and for you guys to see what I'm doing. But I did think it would be interesting, especially since so many of you have requested tutorials on this and have requested sort of an inside look of how I paint my pages on the floor. People always find that really intriguing, which is kind of strange to me because this is not really a good working method. It's just the one I happen to have, and it facilitates me working on multiple pages at a time. So I'll check in with you guys one more time once these pages are completely finished. And thank you guys so much for watching. Okay, so I finished adding the gouache, and unfortunately my camera is color correcting a little more yellow than these pages actually are. So I hope you guys will look forward to the scans. And all that really remains is to remove the blue tape from the pages and free these pages from their gator board. There's going to be some page ripping, and that's kind of just unfortunately unavoidable. What I do to mitigate the damage is done is I pull at a 90-degree angle away from my page. That way, the only paper that's getting ripped is getting ripped towards the outside of the page instead of towards the image itself. Some have multiple layers of blue tape because they were a little far from the edges of the gator board. So you just want to remove the blue tape in the order that it was applied. That'll help also prevent further ripping. And I have multiple tutorials specifically aimed at painting watercolor comic pages at natosoup.blogspot.com. Just head on over to the Watercolor Basics hub page in the left-hand sidebar. And I started 7-inch Cara in 2012. It was part of my thesis, and I've been working on it for the past 5 years. In 2014, I self-published Volume 1 through CreateSpace. And in 2018, I hope to finally be able to put out Volume 2. And Volume 2 is going to be much longer than Volume 1. At the bottom of the page, I write down the page number. That way, even if things get a little out of order, I can reorganize them easily. And as I work on the chapter, I put pages in that little folding portfolio I showed you guys earlier in the week. And see, I already made the mistake of not tearing away enough, so it actually tore the image itself. And it's only a little bit of tearing, but it's still kind of sad that when that happens. I just wasn't being careful enough. Fortunately, I think I can fix that digitally later on, so hopefully it won't be too big of a deal. Alright, and that is all 5 pages removed from their gator boards. These are about to go into a portfolio. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this week. Thank you so much for kind of checking in on me and seeing how I do these pages, how I actually paint these pages. And I hope you guys have learned something, even if it's just don't paint on the floor, because it'll wreck your back and it'll wreck your hips. So I hope to see you guys again really soon. If you're looking for more watercolor tutorials, I have a watercolor playlist, and don't forget to check out Watercolor Basics. And if you think my art is cute, if you enjoy my art, head on over to 7inchcara.com and read the webcomic. So I hope to see you guys again really soon, and I hope you have a great week. Bye!